Good evening. I'm Maria Mejorado, and I'm chairing tonight's meeting for our board president, Jennifer Morgan, who will be with us on Thursday's meeting, our last meeting of the year. I'd like to take roll and start the meeting at 5:37. Okay?
5:32, Dr. Mejorado.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm 5 minutes ahead, okay. I want to go fast. Very good, very good. Okay, I'll take roll now. All right, Dr. Doug Gaffney.
Here.
Anita Kashaw.
Here.
Sean King.
Here.
Gina Lee.
She will not be joining us tonight.
I'm here, Dr. Maria Mejorado. Pretty Merchant.
She'll be joining us a little later, potentially after closed session.
Okay, very good. And Jennifer Morgan.
Will not be present tonight.
And Mallory. Ria.
Here.
All right, and student liaisons, Diego Alfaro.
Haven't heard from him just yet. He might be running a little bit late.
Very good. Kia Safi. Here. Okay. And Gianna Gisto.
She will not be joining us.
Okay. Raven Young. And Noemi Melgoza.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next on the agenda are our recognitions and celebration of all our student board representatives for the whole year. We have a small token of appreciation, and we'd like you to come to, we'll call your name and present you with an award.
So Dr. Mejorado is going to come up and join me. So let me just start by saying, students, I think I can say for every adult in the room, you guys are the highlight of the board meeting every month. Your reports are our favorite part, and you bring a joyous energy to our board meetings, and we miss you. We usually have a board meeting or two throughout the year where you guys aren't here because you're on summer break, and I'll just tell you it's not the same. So I'm glad you guys are able to join with us and share with us a little bit about each of the academies and kind of what's going on from a student's perspective. And this year's Star Academy team, you kind of set a new tradition for all of us, so that's very exciting as well. So Dr. Mejorado and I are going to kind of call you up one at a time, and we have a little plaque up here for you, and we're going to take a little picture with you as well, just a little token of our appreciation. So if I could have Raven, could you come on up? Everyone, can we give Raven a round of applause for all of her work? Here's a plaque, thank you for being our student representative. And then Dr. Mejorado and I will take a picture together with you. Let's look at your parents' camera back there. In the back corner.
Okay, got it.
All right, and then we'll look at Carolyn and Alicia. Awesome, thank you so much, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, next, let's see who we have here. Let's see the person's. Kia Safi, come on up, Kia. Thank you also for being our student board representative. We really appreciate you. We'll take a little picture together. Let's look at Miss Hines in the middle there with the black camera.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Where are you going to be next year?
I'm gonna be still here at Lineage one more year.
And then what do you think for high school?
IB Intercom.
Oh, look at us. All right, so we have one more exciting year with you. That's awesome. I was getting ahead thinking you were going to high school. All right. Next, we have our Star Academy representatives. And so we're going to start with Noemi Melgoza. Come on up, Noemi. All right, so Naomi, you're a fifth grader this year. Where are you going to go next year? Yay! All right, I'm going to stand over here with Dr. Mejorado and me. Look at your mom's.
Okay.
All right, great job. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Next up, we have Milo Scholl. Milo, come on up. Milo, where are you going to be next year?
Leading.
The Leading Edge?
Yep.
What are you most excited about for Leading Edge?
Sports.
Oh, any particular sport?
Basketball, flag football, and soccer.
Ooh, you gotta dial in. You gotta dial in. All right, well, here's your plaque. Let's stand over here. We'll look at your mom's camera. Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you. All right, and last, Irvi Renate. Irvi, come on up. And Irvi, where will you be next year?
Leading Edge.
Oh, are you excited about sports like Milo for Leading Edge?
Yeah.
Which sports?
I want to do volleyball.
Woo! And then where's your brother gonna be?
PFA.
Is that good, or are you kind of like sad that you're not gonna be together?
I don't care.
Well, we're glad you'll be on the same team. So here's your plaque. Thank you so much for being part of our student board reps.
Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and we will make sure Diego and Gianna get their plaques as well.
Reagan, yeah. Oh, she's got hers.
Reagan already got hers. Yep, all
We're
right,
good.
so we're all good to go. Thank you.
All right. Well, these types of recognitions and celebrations are always a highlight for us, so thank you, everyone, and families also for joining us and making this possible. All right, so next on the agenda is the student information update. So if we can start, but no, we can't start with ECA.
I can read it.
Oh,
for
yes,
Diego.
okay,
Yeah.
for ECA for Diego Alfaro.
All right, so reading for Diego Alfaro, his board update for this week from ECA is that on May 24th, there was a staff development day for all NCS employees. On the 27th of May, we celebrated Memorial Day. On the 28th of May, when we came back, seniors at ECA had their banquet where they were awarded their cords and recognized for all of their hard work the past 4 years. On May 29th, we had Senior Walk. That's where seniors go to Star Academy and do a walk, and all the cute little Star Academy kids, it's like a parade route with signs, it's pretty amazing. On the 31st, ECA had their tournament of nights at Cottonwood Park, which was a competitive game between different grade levels. And there was a teacher versus student water relay race. And this was who won? Teachers or students?
Oh, the teachers nailed it.
And then ECA had semester 2 finals, the June 3rd through the 5th, and then Day on the Green, unfortunately, was canceled because it was excessive heat warning that day. So we want to keep everyone safe. And then the class of 2024 had their graduation on Friday night, which many of you attended. So
And
that's
which
awesome.
our representative, Diego Alfaro,
Yes,
graduated.
you did graduate. Yeah, that was very
Yes,
exciting.
very exciting. All right, next we have from Leading Edge, Kia Safi.
Hello, and I cannot believe this is my last time saying it, but my name is Kiyosafi, and today I'll be presenting the Leading Edge Academy report. Getting right into it, our school culture, we had ASB prepare for our last dance. It was a beach fling, and tickets were sold from the 13th to the 17th. Then we had our last hike-up performance at our last rally, which is on the 17th. It was our last performance together, but that just followed up 2 weeks later with a donut party. You can't miss out on a party. Then we also had our taiko celebration, ending off our year together as our party planning group. We had food, pizza, friends, what else could be better? Then we had our recent events, and our assembly happened on the 13th, going over the expectations for the last couple months of school. ASB speeches for the next school year, elections happened. We have our new members voted, elected, and ready for next year. We had honors presentations for portfolio on the 20th, and they got a special recognition at promotion as well. We had a tutoring party on the 30th and Spirit Week from the 27th to the 37th, our last one, which in my opinion was the best one we've had all year. Then we had 7th grade culture recipe potluck. We all brought in a recipe from our culture that we got to share with our math class. We had our 6th grade end of the year play. It was about a time travel with Peabody and Sherman. It was a great play. Then we had our pillar awards, which we went over, obviously our pillar awards, that people who have showed up all year, attendance-wise, and also just recognizing our 8th graders since it was their last time. And then our end of the school year trips. 6th graders went to Scandia, we went to Sunsplash, and 8th graders went to Six Flags. It was a blast. And lastly, for academics, we had C-SPAN on the 20th and finals week from the 3rd to the 7th. This was a crazy year, but I'm so glad I was able to be here with you guys. You guys have made me such a better student, not even when it comes to public speaking, but so many ways more. I met so many amazing people through this opportunity, and I can't be more grateful. If I pass portfolio next year because of this, you guys are all getting a muffin basket. Thank you for your time, and I'll definitely visit next year.
All right, so Joe, will you be reading Gianna Quisto's report for PFAA?
So reading on behalf of Gianna Quisto, it's going to sound very similar to Diego's. So there was the Senior Awesome Lunch on May 29th. It's a lunch put on by the music department for the seniors. They had finals prep week the 28th through the 30th, and then finals were the 31st through June 5th. PFA had 2 different awards nights, one for middle school awards and another one for high school awards on the 29th and the 30th. With those of you, when you came into Campus Day, you might have noticed we have some baby trees right here on the other side of the window. That's because Ecology Task Force, which Gianna is actually a really big part of, organized a tree planting with the Sacramento Tree Foundation here on campus on June 1st and June 6th. So we have some trees up here that will eventually shade this building, and then they did a whole bunch of trees along the property line to do shade out in the field as well, replace some of the ones that had died in the heat last year. And then last week we had graduation, promotion, and all the things, and our last day of school was on June 7th.
Very good, thank you. And next, Raven Young from PACT.
Good evening. My name is Raven Young, and I am representing PACT Academy. On May 10th, PACT students made a splash during the Sac State Aquatic Center field trip. We went to Lake Natoma and had a time of our life. We played games, kayaked, and paddleboarded. I personally loved the kayak. We paired up in groups and used the buddy system during our nature tour. It was a lot of fun. May 15th was the final middle school social year. We had a blast. We danced, played games like musical chairs and limbo, and took pictures with props. We had the best food. We ate cupcakes, chocolate-covered pretzels, cookies, and smoothies. We all loved the cookies. May 23rd was the final day of workshops. 8th grade students started off the day with the annual 8th grade pancake breakfast. All the 8th grade students loved having a chance to sit down and have breakfast with their fellow 8th graders. PACT families and friends enjoyed a dynamic drama performance. It was fun being in play, singing, dancing, and most of all, opening the curtain and seeing 200 people in the stands when you only expected about 20. At the end of the day, we wrapped up the night with open house. Students were able to show their friends and parents what they had been working on during the school year. During the whole day, PACT held a fundraiser selling Liverbee's ice cream. The ice cream was delicious. On May 28th, PACT musicians and dance students performed our annual end-of-the-year recital titled There's No Place Like Home. May 29th, 8th grade students were able to show off their Keystone presentations. On May 31st, students participated in a double field trip to UC Davis Anthropology and bowling. June 4th, we said our final goodbye to the PACT 8th graders at the 8th grade promotion ceremony. Teachers were happy to see their students move on to high school. On June 6th, PACT had their end-of-the-year field trips and celebrations. We were able to have a tour of the Liverbee's Creamery. All the students were amazed at how ice cream was made. PACT students and families joined together one last time for the end-of-the-year park day at the Natomas Regional Park. One of the highlights was that the California Auto Museum brought by a bright red sports car for students to sit in and dream of owning one day. It was a pleasure presenting for PACT Academy this year. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Raven. And last but not least, Noemi Melgoza for Star Academy.
Good evening, Thomas Charter School board members. I'm Noemi Melgoza, and I'll be updating you about the events at Star Academy in late May and June. First, we had our Star Academy talent show. I was one of the hosts for the talent show with my classmate Elise. We had singers, dancers, musicians, and more. In addition, we had iReady diagnostic testing. Students performed the last iReady test of the year to see how much they've learned and grown during the school year. We also had Donuts with Grown-Ups hosted by the Novus Parent Group. Students brought out one family member to get a donut and beverage for free. There were many options and varieties to choose from. A very special event was our PFA and ECA senior walk at Star Academy. Students made posters for the class of 2024. We made sure to make it colorful and welcoming for our seniors. Seniors walked up and down the walkway lined with students while we cheered and music played. Fifth graders got extra time to meet with the seniors and ask them questions. Next, we had our fourth grade plays, Gold Dust Your Bus, California Missions, and more, and It's Electrifying. As always, these plays have great songs, choreography, and humor. I was in the It's a Electrifying play last year, and it was so fun to see other students perform it as well. Recently, we had our 5th grade road trip to the 50 states. Using poster boards, every student in 5th grade made state websites connected to these posters with information about cities, industries, and historical figures from their chosen state. I made my poster slash website about the state of Maine. We also had our Star Academy and volunteer appreciation breakfast. Our volunteers from this year were appreciated with a special breakfast, slideshow, and art with art made by our students as a thank you for volunteering for events and more. And last week we had our TK kindergarten performances. TK and kindergarten performed songs for parents, including their songs in Spanish that they learned this year, as in Hola, ¿cómo estás? I sang the same song when I was in kindergarten. And our 5th grade promotion. 5th graders had their promotion ceremony in the gymnasium, where family and friends gathered to congratulate them and celebrate their achievements. From 12 to 2 p.m., students had a Candyland-themed party with music and food hosted by parent volunteers and staff. My friends and I enjoyed our snacks and time together to celebrate. Finally, field day, our last day of school, June 7th. Fun field day activities, food, and friends. The highlight was the dunk tank that included so many staff members, including our principal, Ms. Wilson. I'm so happy I got to be a part of the Star Academy. I will miss my friends and teachers as well as the school in general. Thank you all so much. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do more reports, and I hope you have an amazing summer.
No, I mean, I heard that Mrs. Wilson went in the dunk tank 25 times. Does that sound right? Wow, that is dedication.
Well, I'll concur with Dr. Wood in terms of all that you do for the school as students. I don't know how you get involved in all those things. And then also to the parents for your support, and of course the teachers for your leadership. So thank you, we really appreciate that. So next on the agenda, I have Ziba, any guest comments on hearing of the public for items on the closed session agenda?
Nothing received with me and nothing online.
Okay, so then we will adjourn to closed session to consider and or take action upon any of the following: public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54954.2, Administrative Representative Dr. Joe Wood, Executive Director, Evaluation and Employment. So I will adjourn us at 5:50. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, we are back to reconvene at 6:26. No further action was taken during closed session. Our next item is approval of the agenda. If there is no need to move any of the consent items off the consent agenda, may I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Got that, Ziba? Okay, roll call. Doug?
Yes.
Nita?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Dr. Mejorado, yes? And Mallory?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now I'd like to have another motion and a vote to approve the consent items.
I'll motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, between Nita and Doug?
Mallory and Doug?
No, Mallory motioned and
I'll let Doug have it.
Doug.
You got it?
All right, so again, vote Doug,
Yes.
Nita,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Dr. Mejorado, yes, and Mallory.
Yes.
Very good. Moving on to the next agenda item, a discussion. We'll first have from Performing Arts Academy presentation by Garrett Love and Elsa Petal.
All right, so thank you for joining us this evening. We're excited to present a little bit about the year that was in 23-24 PFAA. So I'm Gareth Love, and this is...
Elsa Brittle, Associate Principal.
And as you may or may not be aware, our theme this year was Be Here, Be You, Belong. We thought it was a really powerful message, actually stolen from Brene Brown, who's an incredible speaker. And so everything we're going to talk about from this year kind of is infused with that message. Go on. So we started off with, we wanted to say, be here and belong. So we really wanted to make a focus this year on looking at community. What is community? And the various different ways in which we can either create or expand our community. You can see different photos up here. What we wanted to try and focus on was looking at parents and parent groups and how we kind of made a pledge to say, let's get more parents involved in different ways. We have on the bottom there our wonderful student-led participation groups. So things like Link Crew, Web, all of our leadership groups that really make community happen on our campus. And then top left, we have one of our fabulous groups, clubs, which was the BSU Club. Honestly, BSU was one of the highlights of this year because it just exploded this year. We had so many events, especially in the second part of the year. And it was such a great thing. And so we're hoping to keep that momentum going next year. As we continue. So Be You, Belong art. We always talk about art, PFAA. It's something we're very, very good at here. And the students are amazing, the teachers are amazing. But what I wanted to focus on here again was that theme of community. So the photos you can see are things like the community built in productions, the community of the music team, and all of the massive amounts of music students who won awards throughout the year. Dia de los Muertos in that far right. So we're talking about belonging through art, right? So the Dia de los Muertos celebration. We had a wonderful moment in September where we had this Let's Talk About Love with the Matthew Shepard Foundation, organized by our drama department. And then on the bottom left, just as a shout out to the visual arts department, if you guys go to the Crocker Art Museum at all this summer, you'll see their work. These three students actually had their work accepted there, and they're on exhibit throughout the summer. So it's three wonderful ceramic students. So looking back, our goals that we set at the beginning of the year were centered around the WASC LCAP goals for last year. The first area was talking about reimagining and strengthening teaching. We did this looking at scope and sequences and really looking through the lens of belonging at scope and sequences. And we also introduced a really exciting new course, ethnic studies. So I wanted to speak a little bit about that tonight. We had some wonderful results. We did do a curriculum audit with every staff member at PFAA, again, through the lens of belonging. We had an after-school peer tutoring system set up, ran by our wonderful students in the National Honor Society. We continued and refined intervention programs, and we moved co-teaching in math classes to all levels of math classes instead of just middle school like it was the year prior. Go ahead and actually go back one there. I didn't want to shout out, just a shout out to the wonderful Dr.
recognized her.
Mejorado. And the reason why Dr. Mejorado was a fabulous guest speaker in the ethnic studies class. And I do want to share with you that I actually went through we did some surveys with all the students in that class, and so many mentioned the guest speakers that came in, and it had such a big impact. So I did want to share that with you.
Good. Oh, good, I'm glad.
And just really briefly, go ahead. There's some quotes here that are on your slides, but it was a very powerful moment to read through what the students wrote about that class. It was impactful in finding my identity, and it was really that question of. So I actually pulled out a graph, and you can see that nearly 63% of students said that the classes strongly caused them to reflect upon their identity, and that was really the goal of Mr. Paul throughout the class. And so it shows a successful moment.
Our second goal, LCAP and WAS goal, was about developing a cohesive culture of innovation and accountability. We did that continuing our cross-campus and cross-academy collaborations. You can see here with the photo of our PE teachers collaborating to provide a skate night at the rollicking that increased parent participation. We've had several efforts for that goal. We worked on attendance for the Be Here part of our goal. And then we implemented a brand new program, Middle School Deans Program. This has made, and I'm going to talk about it in just a second, but it has already made a huge impact, positive impact for our middle school students and teachers. The results of all of these action steps, we saw a 50% reduction in SSTs, so student support team meetings. Thanks to the Dean's Program, providing support before we get to the SST stage, basically. We've seen consistent grade level and departmental meetings, and our attendance effort helped refine the processes. So now we have attendance letters being set at 5, 10, and 15 days of absences. We have SSTs to figure out what is happening with these families, with the students, try to see how we can help. And then final step is start meetings with our Director of Student Services to provide an attendance contract so that we keep the families accountable to our policies, and we help them get to school. So the deans, the goals were to lean on, but also improve teacher leadership. We have some amazing teachers, you'll meet them on the next slide, who are definite leaders in our community already. And they provide academic and behavioral support. They have weekly meetings with the students that need to have those meetings, but the meetings are provided weekly. And they provide all those supports. Again, we've seen a big reduction in SSTs. We've seen a strong team, even stronger, being built at the middle school level, and better processes. And then it has an impact on Mr. Love and me as well, because that made lightened the load on the SST side of it. And so we were able to help in other areas. We still need to refine our procedures, make sure all teachers are accountable to those procedures, and refine the tiers 2 and tier 3 supports. So here are our deans. Mr. Farwig is the dean for 6th grade, Mrs. Valentine for 7th, and Mrs. Quinn for 8th. I will let you read those quotes from teachers. Teachers were asked for feedback on the middle school deans. So those are all quotes from teachers. There's a strong angle theme of students were kept accountable, and we saw results. And now we just need to refine. So it's been a great success for a first year.
And so our third area we were looking at was expanding organizational capacity. And one of the goals, one of the pieces we implemented this year was a new ALD class, Academic Language and Development class, led by our fantastic EL TOSA, Miss Alyssa Ortiz-Khan. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about that success at the end of this. We had intervention models throughout the math department. So I mentioned the co-teaching. We also had a math intervention class at the high school level. And we did some wonderful internal PD around with using the format of PDSA cycles, that's plan, do, study, act cycles, where groups of teachers work together, identifying areas that needed to grow and fixing that solution, finding solutions to it. So we did some really good internal pieces. We saw, as a result of some of the pieces we put into place, an increase in dual enrollment for the school year 24-25, so next year. 50% of the actual ELD class, so the students that we put into that ELD class, are now eligible for reclassification, which is incredibly exciting. And then one thing, a personal anecdote I wanted to share, and I actually spoke with Alyssa just before this presentation, so she knows that I'm saying this. They did some wonderful projects at the end of the class. And one of the projects was going to Star Academy. So the students who are in this class, who are all EL learners, went to Star Academy, and they really were proud to be there, proud to share some stories and some moments with kiddos over there, which was a really fantastic piece. And another one, their final project was in the same line of ethnic studies. They were asked to kind of speak about their journey and their family's journey. And it really did, because I watched every single one of those finals, because this was kind of to share them. And everyone, the theme across it was now these students identifying themselves as a positive, multilingual, multicultural family. And that was really one of the goals as well. As alongside the academic piece of ALD, that was another one of the goals. So we were really proud to see that. So data, you can't do these without data, right? I will share the high school data at the time this was pulled. I don't even know how to stop this. Do you want me to stop or can I keep going?
No, keep going.
So at the time this was pulled, we only had 97 of the 100 11th grade scores that we were anticipating. So it's slightly preliminary, but it's 97% accurate. So we saw in the CAS scores that came up this year, we saw a slight increase in ELA, and we always kind of traditionally do very well in ELA, and so we saw it go just a little bit up. But I wanted to say we saw a really strong growth in math and science. So we've jumped up from 40.95% to 48 so a 7.5% increase in the math scores, and then a nearly 11.5% increase in the science scores as compared to the year before. So we really did move in the right direction. There's absolute growth always to be made, all right? But we moved in that right direction.
And then for middle school, we look at iReady. Here is math, and again, we see a big improvement in just 5 months between August and January. I love the jump for 6th grade. 13% increase is pretty remarkable, especially since we had a teacher who was a first-year teacher, and then 12% and 8% for 8th grade and 7th grade, respectively. So a great growth for math. We know that we still have work to do, but we're going again in the right direction. And then for ELA, again, growth. So we're doing good. And again, the biggest jump is in 7th grade, 14% increase, and that's again led by a teacher who is a first-year teacher within NCS. We're very proud of our teachers.
All right, and so this time around, we've got some goals for next year. These are based around the 4 new LCAP goals that have been developed for NCS. So first of all, we're looking at the math piece. And some of the action steps that we are taking, we've actually increased intervention in math in the coming year. We've done that we have a middle school intervention class and a high school, and as well as the high school intervention class. One of the areas we really saw a need was the transition between 8th grade and 9th grade. And we saw that there was a real struggle of once students got to the high school level of hitting that standard of Math 1. So we brought, first of all, thinking about next year, we've got the middle school intervention class getting students more ready to make that transition. And for students who are doing that this year, we've introduced an alternate pathway in Math 1. So Math 1, there's the traditional kind of Math 1 pathway, but we're also introducing a 2-year program so students can do Math 1 over 2 years as well. So we're trying to address it in 2 different ways. We're going to continue with the slightly smaller class sizes in math. That was something we started last year, and we promised to kind of continue. We've got co-teaching in all levels, mentioned that a few times. CPM everything, so continued professional development and also using the curriculum with fidelity. Leaning on the amazing Miss Courtney Selby as well, the math coaster, for support. And I am excited about, we're in the early stages of having a partnership with Sacramento State University and what's called the Math Buddy program. What that is it's led by either their math students or graduate students, and they actually offer tutoring to students. It's mainly done online, but what we're trying to do is organize it so we have two Sac State actual students come over here and be a tutor for other students on site after school. So we're excited about that, and that would be in addition to the preset kind of peer support that we're offering, the peer tutoring as well. So that's something we're excited about, and the counselors are working real hard on making that happen. You want to go on? So the second goal is around literacy. There's a lot of similar things. We're actually changing. One of the things we saw through the ALD class was the need for not just students who are EL learners, but also students who have got low foundational skills when they arrive at PFA. So we are introducing intervention classes in middle school and high school for literacy as well, which we're excited about. It is being spearheaded again by the EL TOSA, so she's providing her expertise in that area. We've got co-teaching starting in ELA 2, ELA PD over the summer, continues to use the TOSA, who's also working with groups of students on the science of reading and literacy PD throughout next year, and we've got that scheduled out already. And then the next two areas, goal 3 and 4. So the goal 3 is talking about school culture. So you'll see across NCS wide, we are implementing PBIS, and our teachers are excited about it. We're excited as a community to bring that in. We're looking at implementing positive attendance programs, staff trainings regarding inclusivity is really, I can just shorten that down, but students with disabilities, multilingual students, African American students, and LGBTQ+ students. We are bringing in a new SEL curriculum based on feedback from students and teachers. And then we're really going to strengthen the parent university. The parent U piece is going to be different this year. We are really trying to push that and make that a strong, solid piece. And topics will include attendance and also community mental health resources. And then the fourth one you will see across the board with NCS, because we just literally copied and pasted it. But it is annual compensation studies and ongoing investments in pieces. We're really looking at new employee onboarding. How are we doing that and how are we refining that? And also providing opportunities for staff to grow. That's really just something that's positive about our community. And then implementing cultural responsive training and hiring training. So finally, the exciting part. So the themes across the last couple of years, we've done Together We Excel, Be Here, Be You, Belong. So you can see that kind of common theme of what does it mean to belong? What does it mean to be part of the community of the FAA? So now we're arriving at Voices in Harmony for this year. Now, the reason this was chosen by staff as a piece was they wanted to really focus on celebrating diversity, celebrating respect, listening to one another, collaboration, inclusion, and working together towards positive outcomes. What we were trying to establish is how do we disagree and be okay with that and move forward, right? How do we take all of our wonderful diversity and continue to celebrate that in our community? And so we're excited about the theme, and we've got lots of kind of plans already set in motion. We're working hard today for next year with some of those pieces. Questions? I know it's slightly long. Apologize for that.
Anybody have any questions?
What made you guys print front and back? It was kind of deceiving because it makes it look like so thin.
Oh, you want to know something? I actually sent a text message 2 hours ago saying, "Are there any specific instructions? I don't know." I got told save paper, so
There you go.
I appreciate that.
I do have a couple. Let's see. Okay. On the high school, no, the middle school, iReady scores. For math, that nice increase there. Can you tell us anything about the subgroups? I'm assuming there'd be some improvement there as well?
There was some improvement. Yes, we haven't got that level. We didn't pull it to pieces
Right.
in that kind of way.
Yeah.
But there was improvement across the board. Some
some subgroups increased considerably, some didn't. We're still looking at the subgroups and students with disabilities. One area that we're still definitely focusing on as a area of growth.
So at some point you might be able to fill
Absolutely.
that in for us?
Yep.
Okay. And same for the ELA, that nice increase there for the 8th graders. Wondered about that. I had another question, let's see. Under the academy goals, number 3, school culture. And you mentioned you're going to implement some new SEL curriculum.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my director there, can I speak to that?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, okay. So we are implementing a new curriculum, it's called Wayfinder. We got feedback from, we've had Character Strong, we've been using this curriculum across NCS now for a few years. And the feedback that we've been receiving gradually as we check in hasn't been all positive. Wayfinder is a different style of program. It's one of the major differences is the program that was created for high schoolers and then they kind of went down. Often with SEL curriculum, it gets started with the elementary kiddos and goes up. And you can see that. You can see some of the pieces in Wayfinder. There's a lot of plug and play activities. There's a lot of options for us. There's a lot of freedom of how we're going to put it, but we're still going to continue with that promise of SEL curriculum, which is a weekly promise to our students because it's so important, and we're just doing it with a different curriculum.
I did want to bring up something that just kind of came to my awareness is there any attention given, and maybe there is, I just haven't heard of this, any attention given to those students who are graduating, who are leaving, and that whole what's next, how emotionally leaving their friends. Even my own son, we went to the graduation at the Memorial Auditorium, and the next day he says, "Oh my God, half of my friends are graduating, they're gone." Right? I mean, really, for a split second there, that was a very strong emotion.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my husband and thought, well, I mean, that's my son, but those that are moving on also. So I don't know if there's any.
Well, there is. That's a great
attention.
question. There isn't in Character Strong, but as we transition to Wayfinder,
Yeah.
actually there is. They
Oh,
have
good.
whole sections of the curriculum that are based on time of year. So there's like at the beginning of the year for 12th graders, 11th graders, 10th graders, at the end of the year. And part of that end of the year for seniors is that question of like, hey guys, you ready? You know? I went to the 5th grade promotion just recently and I asked a lot of 5th graders, so you know, how you feeling now about what? And I'm like, I'm not even gonna go there. So yeah, I get that, but it's the same. It's the same for any of those transitions, 5th and 8th and 12th. But yes, what I'm excited about is it does have options where we can kind of plug and play some pieces, and so it's a lot of reflective activities around those transitional moments.
Great, thank you. And my last question is, you mentioned under goal number 2, the co-teaching of ELA.
Yeah.
Is that the first time, or have you been okay, yeah, because you've been mentioning math for a while.
Yeah.
This is the first time for ELA, okay.
So we've taken it gradually, and we did co-teaching in one middle school class, and then we did co-teaching in one middle school math class, and then we did co-teaching in middle school math, then we moved to the whole of math. And now we're looking at, actually we're going to be starting with ELA in high school, and because that's where we're identifying some pieces that we need to put in. And so we're starting there. So we've done everything kind of gradually and built upon it, but it's been successful so far. Dr. Gaffney.
Yes, Dr. Wood and I talked a little bit about the triangle, parents, school, students. So in that same goal 3, you talk about implementing parent universities. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is making sure that there are events where parents are not just receiving information, but they're actually engaging in the community. And I think that's one of the differences, right? It's that difference between engagement and kind of just like standing, listening to me give a speech about something, right? We are trying now to make sure that there are at least one event every month where parents can come and be on campus doing something. Now, they're all going to be themed slightly differently. Some of them are going to be led by counselors. So that's still going to be the kind of like FAFSA nights and college nights and pieces like that. We're actually excited. We're going to, counselors will probably shout at you, but we are going to do a college day and we're going to run it on a Saturday next year. So we're planning that already, which is exciting as it is that. And then there'll be some that are led by social emotional needs. And so depending on, around Ribbon Week, we might actually have all the parents come in and we'll have a conversation about here's some issues we're going to be addressing with your students, and here's some conversations we can have together as parent groups. And then there'll be some wonderful ones from the admin that like, this is why attendance is important.
Very important.
So we'll have some, different layers of those. And then one of the things I'm actually meeting with the P4A president on Thursday. And one of the pieces we're going to be working on is looking at how we can get parent social groups and having pieces that socially parents need to interact to build that community further. And it's not just about grades and academics and, how's your kid doing at school? It's about who are we as people, and we're building that community in different layers.
Yeah. One suggestion to think about is, obviously nowadays, podcasts, YouTube videos, stuff like that is very easy, accessible. Podcast while you're driving home to and from work, throw it on, listen. That may be an additional avenue that we can approach. Just that way, people aren't bombarded with 3, 4, 5 emails that they can't read, and then they get home, oh, I forgot about the email, and then it's just straight dismissed. At least when they receive it, maybe they can podcast it, listen to it while they're driving or whatever the case may be, just to increase that ability to engage that information. That's very obviously important.
That's a great idea.
Any other questions, comments? Great. Thank you very much. All right, next for presenting will be Dr. Joe Wood on enrollment.
So now it's time for our monthly enrollment report. These are our numbers as of May 31st. This is the time of the year where we paused on enrollment because we're finishing out the school year. But you get sort of the monthly report there. Overall numbers are looking strong. For the coming school year, I looked today, I think we have 1,432 students still on the waiting list for next school year. So we have healthy waiting lists in all of our site-based programs across all grade levels. At this point, ECA is slated to start actually kind of overfilled, so we might lose a few students over the summer. That's kind of normal. And then PACT, I think, is right around 125. But this is typically the low point in the year for PACT, and then they start getting students during the summer. So overall, enrollment's looking really healthy from a financial standpoint. We're very strong for next year.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Very good. Thank you, Dr. Wood. All right. Next, we have Laura Barrio, who will present on the California School Dashboard Local Indicators.
Hello. All right. It is that time of year where we get to start on the dashboard that records what we just finished this year. So the actual dashboard won't be out until fall. But we start putting information in. And there, for the California School Dashboard, there are some indicators that are self-reported by the school. So you have an assessment that you need to do to put that onto the board, in addition to all the ones that they'll pull from all of our data. We have met all of these, but you might be thinking, what are these? So the first one that we'll talk about is top left, basics. So teachers, materials, and facilities. So we do an assessment, do kids have access to textbooks and curriculum, or, technology if they're an independent study? Are the teachers appropriately credentialed? Are our facilities safe and well kept? Those types of things. So we've met all of those elements. And then you go to implementation of academic standards, and that gets to our classes aligned to the California standards. And all of our courses are, and we have scope and sequence that the teachers complete where they say, this is what I'm teaching, this is how it links to the standards. So all of that is appropriate, as well as having our curriculum that we have is aligned to the California state standards. Parent and family engagement is really about how are we ensuring that our parents are involved. We've got lots of feedback and input and surveys and parent meetings, and really getting that going this year. And so we rank nice and high on that metric as well. School climate is looking at how are we ensuring that we have a positive school climate. So some of those things are like having our social emotional counselors and our social emotional curriculum that we're using. Having our web and link crew, which mentors younger students. having, surveys. We've done, I know Petra's done a couple of surveys throughout the year. We have the DEI committee that put out surveys for staff, students, and parents, all of that. So let's see. Some data from those is 99% of families said that they were happy with the levels of support and communications, which is pretty good, right? Maybe Doug, like you said, a few too many emails. 97% of families said that they were satisfied with safety at school. 93% said the teachers are dedicated to helping students learn, which is awesome. 92% of parents reported that their child made expected academic growth, which is pretty good. 94% said their child made expected social emotional growth, so that developmental growth, right, as they're maturing. 93% of parents reported their child felt well connected with the staff, and 96% of parents reported that they are satisfied overall with Natomas Charter School. So that's pretty good, right? And you get to a teacher grade book, and those are all A's. So we fit the MET. That's our local climate survey. And then access to a broad course of study is the other indicator. And so that's where we have our CTE pathways for our high school students in the arts. We have A to G classes. So all of our students go into college preparatory classes. There's no opting out of that. Everyone is pushed to have those doors open. So you can make the decision once you get there. And then, of course, our inclusive education program, making sure that we are using the inclusion model in addition to the work that our staff does on the regular with, as Mr. Love said, with our Plan, Do, Study, Act, which is our professional learning communities, having teachers look at what is a problem of practice and how do we innovate and make sure that we're always doing better. Our multi-tiered systems of support from behavior to social emotional to academic, and of course our DEI work as well, all of which we'll be continuing and refining in the coming year. So there you go. There's your first peek at the dashboard. It's been submitted. It opened last Monday, and I think it was submitted on Tuesday. I was so excited. I was ready. So any questions? And for the next part of the dashboard, we don't quite have, as Mr. Lowe was saying, we are stuck at 93.59% of CAS scores have been released to us. It hasn't changed in the last 6 days, so I'll keep waiting for that.
Ward, I just want to make sure you're aware that packet that you have for Laura is one packet that has all of these slides coming on to it. Okay. I also need to make mention for the record that Preeti Merchant joined the meeting at 6:42 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, are you ready for the next presentation? Hi, I'm Laura Ferrier. I'm here to present to you about our LCAP, our Local Control and Accountability Plan, which was the end of the 21 to 24 3-year LCAPs cycle. And so for this, as you remember, the LCAP is something where it's really looking at what does the data tell us about the needs of our students, and we make an action plan to then move forward to improve things. And you guys know, because and anybody out there in YouTube land that watches me every month, we've been reporting on this a lot. So next slide, please. So our first goal that we had was reimagine and strengthen teaching and instruction. And so here, we're looking at those things of the SEL curriculum, the coaching framework, shared expectations. We have the amount that we spent from our LCFF funds, right? These are our funds that we have. It's not an extra pot, but it's how are we using that local control of our funds. And so some of the things that we have seen really make an impact here is we have been putting a lot of effort into our CPM, our mathematics program, training teachers, supporting them, giving them support of the TOSA. Let's see, we have the enrichment workshops at STAR and PACT Academy so that the students got access to the arts and social emotional things. And then my favorite highlight here is our reclassification of 43 English learners this last year. That's like, yeah, my highlight for the year. Goal 2 was developing a cohesive culture of innovation and accountability. Here, we're looking at developing our special education program that was brand new when we first started this LCAP. Looking at MTSS, or the different tiers of support for students, looking at our evaluation process, and as you know from previous meetings, we went through with the committee to really look at that, now have a new evaluation process that staff feel really would support them, and of course our onboarding process and procedures to make sure that we are supporting new staff once they get here and retaining them. So we have how much we have spent on it. What are some of our successes? Our onboarding this last year went from 1 day to 2 days. It's where they took the bus around to all the 3 sites. We're doing that again. The Joseph were just talking about the bus tour today. We have some staff leadership programs, so developing our staff as leaders. That's another thing that we're going to be continuing this next year. And one thing that's really special here at Natomas Charter is because we believe that teachers are the architects of learning, we know that they have individual needs for their professional development. And so we give all of our teachers $500 to spend each year on professional development. So it could be buying books to read, it could be going to a conference, it could be, I want to go observe at another school. I think Jeff Pollard did that for the ethnic studies. He went and observed, at another school, the course, and talked to the teachers. So there's lots of ways, and the teachers work with their principals to make sure that what they're doing is aligned with either the school goals, the academy goal, or their own personal development goals. But that's a really great benefit that I've never seen at any other school. So it's quite lovely. Goal 3, expanded organizational capacity. Here's where we're looking at developing our non-site-based programs, so PACT and ECA, which both have had some pretty successful years. Employee leadership and recruiting development. We've been doing a lot of work with the human resources group at the business office, working on developing there. We've gone to, I think, over 10 job fairs this year. Got it down to a science now. They've got all their stuff ready to go. And then really trying to attract people that are focused on the mission of our school. And making sure that people understand what it is we do here and how we do it, because it's not like every place. And so you have to be a certain breed of student-centered, I'm really going to dig in educator to work and thrive here. Some of our successes is let's see, what else we have? We've been doing starting on some PBIS, so positive behavioral intervention strategies, as well as maintenance things, keeping our school up to date, the facilities projects that Joe's been working so hard on, lots of different projects there. Let's head to the next one. And then Anita has added a look at how much we've been spending for the year. And so we have the blue is the planned expenses, and then we have the mid-year expenses, and then I know she was just wrapping up the budget. So I'm sure in her budget there's more information about the finalized ones. All right. Questions on last year's LCAP? Right, last year. It was Friday. The new year. The 23-24 LCAP series. No? Okay.
Well, Laura's making, just to provide some context, so she's getting to the exciting part of this, which is the new LCAP, 24-27. But before she can talk about the new LCAP, we're legally required to talk about the old LCAP and the local indicators. All the state bureaucracy that's
Just another report to write. I always thought I wanted to be a journalist, and now all right, so once again, the LCAP is really about using that Plan, Do, Study Act, that PDSA cycle, that we have that is kind of inherent in the way that we do things at Natomas Charter School. So it's really looking at the data, and we've been working with all different stakeholders to look at the data, plan things. Go to the next one, please, Ziva. Staff engagement. So we started looking at the end of the 21 to 24 LCAP, looking at our current data. I have a data sheet that follows us over the last 4 years, looking at, where have our indicators gone, how have we grown. We looked at that with the admin team, then we looked at our school accountability report card, looking at specific CAS data, and we started to say, okay, what are we seeing? Where are we making growth? Where do we need to add more emphasis, more focus? Did a really good in-depth look at that, kind of got it down to our goals. There was so much chart paper and writing, and it was a whole 3-month process or something. And so we kind of got at what are the big buckets that we're looking at for needing to improve, and then worked as a team, and the principals worked with their staff to come up with what are those action steps and how do they look at each academy. So each academy has, I'm going to show you, we have an action plan for Natomas Charter, and then from that, each academy says, what does that look like in my academy? How am I going to be working towards that goal? And so, okay, next one. And so then we said, okay, we need some community feedback and engagement. We need to know, how are the families feeling? Oh, and I forgot to say that a part of our process also was looking at the January climate surveys that we got from students, families, and staff. So using that as a part of the data that we were looking at as well. So really taking that feedback in. What are the things that students are concerned about? What are the things that the parents are concerned about? What are the things that staff are concerned about? And then we took that into part of it. And then we had specific LCAT feedback. And so I took the LCAP to the Parents United, which is our ELAC group for feedback. We did with BlackRock and STAR and PACT. I went to the coffee with the principal, and we had chart paper, and people got to add feedback. We had great discussions. We had family feedback sessions at the STAR and BlackRock open houses. And so families came in and shared their feedback and their notes. And then if you couldn't make it to any of those 6 opportunities, there was a survey that you could fill out. And so parents filled out the survey and shared their feedback there. And it was really helpful to see that a lot of what the parents were saying was very similar to what we were seeing in our data and, and what we were hearing from staff. And it was really neat because we got some really fun ideas, because I kind of said to them, what are the things that we're doing really well and you don't want to see change, right? What's working? And then what are some deltas, some changes, have ideas. And the parents were really creative, and especially when you get to the looking at the community element, so many of the parents were like, we love connecting with each other, right? Which this is kind of turning the tide after COVID. It was like, yes, we got them wanting more, and so, and they wanted more of that. They wanted more connection, and they really appreciated that. They all, when it got to the academics piece, they all really appreciated the staff and the passionate staff and, the care that we put into things. They were concerned about the same things we were, there's inequities in our data, right? There's areas of concern. And so, I feel like we were all very much on the same page with that, of what are we worried about and what do we really want to work on. So I thought it was, I don't know, it was a lot of work, but it was really, it was fun for me because I would take all their sticky notes and type them all up in a document, and then I share it with the principal and share it with the directors and be like, oh, look at these ideas. What is it? A bunch of parents want to do a spelling bee. Wow. I'm like, I love spelling bees. I used to do that when I was a teacher, so, they've got these creative ideas or math things or, so it's really fun. Okay, so moving on to our first goal. So our first goal is to solidify data-based instructional practices to raise math fluency and CASP scores, right? And we linked it to CASP scores because that's the dashboard. That's how we, at 2027, we're gonna have to renew our charter. That's the data point that they'll use. But really what we're trying to do is make sure that we are having all of our teachers use that data-driven instructional plan, right? Looking at the data, looking at, whether it's a formative assessment, what did the kids understand with that math lesson? Teachers will do a little ticket out the door, right? Where the kid has to do a question, a math question, and then it's like, oh, everybody wasn't carrying the one, or whatever that is, or it's the summative assessment. So really looking at that, and then using that information to get the students that need the extra support into those intervention spots, right? Whether it's like Mr. Love was talking about, like the math intervention, is this kid does the kid have holes? How can we fill in those gaps? And then really making sure that we are sharing how we're teaching, so that it doesn't matter, which teacher you get, right? Or what grade level you're getting that same consistent level of teaching. And then engaging parents, especially around math. Unfortunately, people have like kind of a bad taste in their mouth, right? Some people, and they go, oh, no, and we're here to say everybody can do math, and math is not scary, and we can do hard things. It's okay. And so really working with the parents, we're going to try to get parents feeling a little bit better about math and ready to support their kiddos, even if it's just to be like, math is cool, like if I can get every parent to say that, like every day for the next year, I think that would help us a lot. And so we have our baseline and our 3-year target. And basically we want all of our students in the grade, right? Which means that we're making forward progress. And we want our average to be 0 or just right at standard, not below, right? I mean, more than that would be awesome, but we're gonna have a span, and making sure that, all of the students are growing by about 10 points, and all subgroups are yellow or better. So that means that they're making progress. And then, of course, we have our budget, and then we've increased services. Our plan is increasing by 7.57%. So it's part of the new LCAP. You have to say, how are you increasing what you're doing? Goal 2, very similar to the math one, solidifying data-based instructional practices to raise literacy and CAS scores. And one of the things that we have seen over the past few years, based on especially students coming through the pandemic learning, is that we have more students than ever before that have gaps in their reading, and students that are reading multiple grade levels below. And so really looking at how can we support those students in that literacy, and then the students that maybe are reading at the right level, but maybe they don't have all those skills, those reading skills, or writing skills that they missed during that time, and really making sure that we're intentional about it. Our TOSA, Alyssa Ortiz-Khan, has been working with teachers on all campuses with some intervention programming and work, and setting up diagnostics. So she's got a whole intervention plan, diagnostics to set up for reading. They start with your iReady scores, and then based on that, then you do this assessment, so that you can really get down to what, does this child need some phonics? Does this child need, this? What is that area? And then working with the teachers to see how can we put that into place for the students. And so at Leading Edge, they have, which is where we see the most like entrance at 6th grade, right? We have 6th grade has a literacy program class, and then they have humanities through their arts and the social science. So Ms. Sanchez really hits on that literacy. And then in 6th grade at PFAA, we're using that 6th grade tech class. And it's going to be kind of we're going to figure out what your needs are and fill in your holes while we're having you do fun tech things. It's going to be pretty awesome. Super excited. Ms. Lloyd is working with Alyssa Ortiz-Khan on doing that. Sorry, I got excited. Okay, let's see. Refining intervention and tutoring. I could talk for days about this, you guys. Looking at, our data conversations and making sure that we're really data-based, especially, as you get into the upper grades. The elementary teachers are really good at looking at reading and literacy, right? But you get higher and higher. And when I went to school as an English teacher, nobody taught me how to teach to read, kids to read. I had to go and get that professional development on my own. And so really making sure that we're teaching, even if you're a 12th grade teacher, if you have a kid coming in who's, 3 or 4 grade levels below and they're reading, what are you gonna do to make sure they can access that curriculum? So it's really important. And then engaging parents with at-home strategies, especially if you have those students who are below, we're doing this at school, here's a complementary thing that you can do that's doable, right? You don't have to be a trained credentialed teacher, but to do with your child to help them to build those skills. So we're increasing services 7.57%. We are very similar with, we want all student group to be green on the dashboard and all subgroups yellow or higher, right? That's showing that they're making that growth. And for this one, because we are stronger in English language arts, we're aiming for 50 points above standard as a whole for the school. All right, next one, increasing student attendance through strong school culture. All right, here we're looking at attendance and keeping in mind that our attendance rate is like a third of what most chronic absenteeism rates are, but it's still high for us, right? And so we want to make sure that the more kids are in school, the better they'll do. We were just talking about a student of concern today, and the principal was like, oh yeah, that student has 15 days of absence. And I was like, okay, so first we got to get them here, right? Then we can do what we need to do. So here we're looking at different things from refining our short-term independent study processes so that the students are really able to get what they need when they're on independent study, and then making it clear so that they can then turn it in and we can get the attendance for it. Implementing a positive attendance program at all 5 academies. Ms. Lorson has been working very hard on that with the principals and making it, a benefit to, yes, I want to be here. I want to be here every day. I want to be a part of things, along with the PBIS program of really making expectations clear. We know that what Joe is always saying, as Brene Brown says, clear is kind. Right. And one thing we know about children is that they love boundaries, and they will work with boundaries. And when it's too free, they just kind of go crazy. Right. They won't tell you they like those boundaries, but they do. And so really getting that clear expectations, and then, saying, getting them not positive when they're meeting it. Because that's usually what behavior is. It's just attention seeking. Right. Let's see. We want to have training for staff to be able to really work with our diverse population. And then our new social emotional curriculum that Mr. Love was talking about, and then bringing parents into the fold so that they really understand. Because I know, if I've talked to lots of different people about things like PBIS and whatever, and some people are like, that's horrible, and I'm like, how can being positive with kids be horrible? So really communicating, what does this mean here? What are we doing? Why are we saying these things? What should you hear from your child to know that this is going on? So we have a lot planned here. We're at 6.7% chronic absenteeism, and we'd like to be in the green, not the yellow, with 3% chronic absenteeism. That's about where we were before the pandemic, and so we'd like to get back there. And then all groups are yellow, and we want to decrease. Which here, this is the opposite one where you want to go down, not up, with that. Okay, goal 4, attract and retain highly qualified and diverse staff through a strong school culture. And we, research shows again and again that if, the more your school staff reflects your school student population, the better it is for them. And so that's something that we are really working to implement. And we want to have staff that are consistent and here and bought in and knowing our families and working hard with our students. That's the best case for success, is when you have consistent staffing. Hopefully they'll end up like me, who just never goes away. And so we are working on an annual compensation study that Ms. Hone works so hard on doing every year to make sure that we are staying competitive with other local education agencies. And then on looking at our onboarding and ongoing support for our staffing, and then culturally responsive and recruiting and hiring practices. The HR team been working a lot with them on how can we make sure that we are appealing to a diverse group of people as well as sending out our information of, hey, we're hiring to, to all ends of the earth. And then really cultivate community and parent partnerships. And so, working with different community groups so that they can see, oh, look at this is a school that's on the move that wants to, make connections, which also benefits our students because then they're seeing other models out in the world doing different careers, right? Other than just the school staff. And it really benefits our school staff because then they're meeting people in other fields and getting those connections. So our target, 3-year target, is to raise all staff retention to 85%. All employees, 70% of them being here 5 or more years. And then certificated staff, 90% retention. And then the one I really look at too, since I'm in the survey data world, is one of the questions we ask our staff is, do you feel like you have access to valuable leadership opportunities? Are you learning more? Are you being able to grow to become a leader? And right now we are at 95, and so I want to go above that and make sure that we're continuing to do that. I know we were planning, the TOSAs and I were planning today, looking at all of the different, we're calling it professional development menu that's coming out. And so we're coming up with all the different ways that people can learn and grow, because you don't ever want to become stagnant, because then you're not giving the students the best. Because when you know better, you do better, right? All right, so questions?
Any questions? I have one.
And then
Yeah, this is what you covered. Yeah, interesting that statistic that employees 5 years or more, less than 50% keep. And so given that, could you talk about the goal number 3, examples of staff training to support a strong sense of belonging for a diverse student population, and the training on culturally responsive recruiting and hiring practices?
Okay, yes. So, and I'm gonna say that 5-year plus, the pandemic kind of did a doozy on us.
Okay.
That's where that's still a part of our numbers, where we saw a contingent of people who just said, nope, I'm out of education and went to different careers. And so that's kind of what you see there. That was a dip that we saw. And so we're working with that, but really looking at that staff training is where we're doing some DEI work with Akua Ramsey, who's our consultant, and really trying to weave that into the fabric of how we do what we do. Like I was just talking with the TOSAs and Ms. Wilson at Star Academy, and we were talking about, like, how are we going to look at our MTSS process of looking at how are we supporting students, looking at the data and, and tweaking what we're doing, but how can we embed that DEI in it, right? So that there's, training, like Ms. Ortiz-Khan was saying, okay, let's add this little bit of training so that the teachers can better understand what it's like to be a multilingual learner, in our community, and that goes into it. So it's there's some that's specific training, right? Like very here, this is clearly DEI, and then there's other pieces where we're going to be giving them training on the different diversity and experiences of our students, so that they can understand that, and then how do they adapt to that. So that's kind of the teacher portion of it.
Yeah.
And that builds confidence, right? Because it's not possible to know every single experience, right? And I mean, I've been here for 25 years, and we're continually getting new diversity, right? And so it's about that continual learning process. And then looking at the hiring practices, we've been going to a variety of different trainings. I just downloaded a whole framework for hiring diverse staff today. I haven't dug into it yet. It's my little thing to take home. But really looking at like, what are the different communities looking for? What are barriers? What are, different ways to phrase things, to set things up so that it feels more approachable. There's statistics on, like this subset of applicants won't even turn in the application if they don't have every single thing, right? And so they're not even turning it in, whereas you might be like, turn it in, don't worry for that last third, letter of recommendation, or, so there's a lot of research about what it is that makes people apply or not apply. And so we've been working a lot on that and who do you send it out to, how to get different community groups involved.
Oh, a follow-up to that. Do they, in your training, your research here, have you come across anything about how people look at charter schools, especially people of color, applicants of color? There's a perspective, oh no, charter schools are for the elite and they're handpicked, just this thinking.
Right.
So anything in your research that you've seen that addresses that?
There's not as much research on that. Most of it is done by like the larger districts and county offices. But there is some to that. And so one thing that we've been working on is really being able to tell our story and tell the story not only of the students, but of the staff community. And so, getting them to see that it is a tight-knit community where, you're gonna have community, not just the kids. And that we are not just elite, right? And trying to showcase that through, our different ways of advertising, as well as looking at, the business offices working on different, what are they, stanchions or whatever, the big poster things, right? And so, saying, like, we always have kids' pictures, but we need to have some of the staff on there. We need to show that community, show that those pieces to go against it. But no, you're right. There's definitely either people are like, yeah, it's a charter, right? And other people are like, oh,
Yeah, right,
this is a little frightening. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to get that idea out there. But I think really to move that needle, it has to be like if every single person who is attached to Natomas Charter School told 5 people, like that's really like, I feel like it needs to be a big game of telephone really to make that bigger push so that people see. I know in Natomas that is not as much of an impact because we have so many charters here, and I feel like this Sacramento Valley has a lot of charters as well that serve all different populations. But yeah, tell 5 friends.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me, at graduation, as we were walking, leaving the Memorial Auditorium, my son says, oh, there's my calculus teacher, LB. So I said, well, let's go say hi. No, I want to go. We went to say hi to him, right? And I asked him how the year went. Very positive. He talked about the support he's received.
Good.
That's the message we need to get out. From someone like him, first, that diversity.
That's brand new.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I was very pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
The other piece too is that, when you look at that data about the 5-year 10 NCS, most of the people that we're hiring are brand new to teaching. So we're also navigating the reality that all the research shows that many teachers leave the profession within their first 5 years. Regardless of where they're teaching. So Laura and her team have done, along with principals, have done a really great job of trying to support all of these new teachers coming in with, induction mentors or peer mentors, different workshops and trainings that they're having them go to, with really the idea that we're recognizing we have a much younger in terms of professional experience workforce than maybe we did 10 years ago. And they need a different level of support just to get through those first few years of teaching.
And we also, because we do the induction program, which is like for new, first 2 years of teachers getting support and things through the county office. And we provide the mentors, but we just had a meeting with the mentors saying, okay, what is it that you think would be good? We're going to be developing a professional development committee of staff members to kind of say, okay, what are the different development opportunities we want to have? And they've already started saying we need like beginning teacher ones, we need mid-career, and we need end of career, type of options. And the TOSA's also held end of year for all new employees. They invited them to lunch and they fed them and they said, okay, tell us what worked, what didn't work, what do you want, what do you need? And we're making direct changes based off of that. We're actually flip-flopping the days of the onboarding where they're starting at their site and then coming to the all, so, we're really looking at like, what are the current needs, especially with the younger teachers. So.
Great, wonderful. Doug, you had a question?
Yeah, I got a couple. Your dashboard kind of made me think about some of this technology. Power School and Schoology.
Yeah.
Are there gonna be any changes with that moving forward? Like any integration of like the information or any changes whatsoever with how those function?
Okay. How do I answer this? Power School is going to be making some updates on their interface. I think it's just the teacher side. I don't think it's the parent side, but I don't know. I'll have to know. I'll tell you in July when it moves over. So they're going to be doing some updates there. We are working on trying to get the grades to go from Schoology to Power School more effectively. It's kind of like, I don't know, 50-50 right now if it actually goes over automatically. So we're hoping these new changes are going to fix that problem. We're working with them also for a couple other pieces, like so that we can send out like report cards and things digitally to families instead of having to mail them. Like we're trying to make some tweaks and some changes to make better use of it. And then with that, we'll have trainings that come out for the families.
Was there specific
Yeah,
challenges that you were having, or?
Well, yeah, I have a couple things here. I say integration just because sometimes, well, when it comes to emailing, I know I've had experiences, I've heard other experiences, like when you're trying to push out information to teachers, the emailing, if you do it through, I can't recall which one it was, it goes to the teacher's spam or they don't get it. And so I've had to like copy the email and then email them another time because I got a little bit disturbed when I emailed all of my son's teachers and I'm like, it's been 2 weeks and I haven't gotten any response. And then I just directly emailed them and then that's the feedback I got.
So that's through like Schoology probably.
Like you were using the message feature?
Yeah, I was just inside looking at the grades or the assignments or whatever. So it's like, oh, let me just go ahead and click the button to email and then that function doesn't work. From what they told me, they never got that email.
Interesting.
So I can't recall again which one that was.
I can research that.
The grades too, I would look, because I'm that parent that likes to check every day or week. And I also have it set up to where it sends me notifications every day. But I realize, I realize that I look at it every day because I want to see, hey, what are you missing? Especially if you're in a co-parenting household and at one household, maybe things a little bit more held accountable than others. Excuse me. Anyway, so I need to keep track, right? But then it's like, no, that grade changed, or I talk to the teacher and they're like, oh yeah, we didn't have time. So that gets me back to that capacity question. We have time to update it. We normally update it like 3 days, or something like that. So now here I am getting on my kid and they have already been turned in, or in his widget, it looks different than mine. And so like, oh, okay. So I was just kind of curious about that piece since we're looking forward.
Well, if you ever see like that, like the email function's not working or like that you're getting two different things, screenshot that and send it to me because then I can work with them to say, okay, what's the issue? How can I, you're having some sort of a delay or you're having some sort of a something, and I can work with Power School and Schoology to fix those.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, goal, I think this one's future for next year, goal 1, you talked about the math. Were there any noticeable changes with that? Didn't we do like a math t-shirt at the beginning of the year? Any notable changes with that? know that was kind of like a reason why we did the t-shirt.
I don't think we have like a data.
We don't
but-
have a data point.
But I will say the math teachers themselves felt appreciated.
Yeah.
Because every time they look at that math data, they feel really, really responsible and accountable to it, right? And I think it was, the feedback that I received kind of on a more anecdotal basis was that they just appreciated the fact that we had their back. You know, that they weren't figuring this out all by themselves, and they knew, you know, even an art teacher or PE teacher or someone in a completely different subject was supportive of the work that they were doing.
And I do think that with staff, there was definitely an impact, because there were people that at first were like, well, I'm not gonna get one because I don't actually love math. I don't wanna do that, right? And so there were a lot of conversations, and I know I had them, and Miss Selby had them, and even Miss Ortiz-Khan, who's, you know, taught math in elementary school, but isn't like a math guru, you know, type of thing. But like, you know, where we would say to people, well, but do you love what math does in your world? You know, like, what are the things you appreciate about math? Well, how do you use it in your everyday? You know, you don't have to be like, I love the calculus, you know, to wear the sweatshirt, you know. And so I think it got people thinking and talking about it a little bit more. And I saw people buy sweatshirts that originally were like, I can't do that. And then they're like, I love math, walking around, you know. So I think, you know, it's part of the movement, you know. It's like, go tell, you know, 5 friends. It's like, let's talk to 5 people about how much we love math and what it does for us. And it makes these little devices in our hands work, you know, type of thing. So I don't have a specific data point on that, but I know the kids would joke about it too, right? Because they'd be like, oh, you have the same sweater as my teacher. And I'd be like, yeah, I do, you know. So it just makes it a talking point, I think, so.
And then, goal 2, improving literacy, also improving math. I know Dr. Wood and I talked about before and after school programs. There's a lot of different available resources that perhaps are not made aware or people just aren't utilizing. So we're pushing on a lot of these improvements. Are there going to be any changes, improvements, or modifications to those before and after school programs to coincide with these goals?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We've already been talking about like we need to be more transparent about what they are. And I was talking with Lakeisha Stroder, who's in charge of our Knights Landing here at the secondary level, and like really talking about like, you know, maybe it's like a weekly, like, this is what there is to do, you know, like Tuesdays is this and Wednesdays is this, you know, and having the academic pieces and the fun pieces, you know, the leadership things, the different things, and really like putting it out there for families, right? So that they can, you know, so that it's on your radar of like, we tell the kids, but we haven't been like pushing it out to the families as much. So, and trying to run everything through that so it's very cohesive. And you can kind of almost like this school menu, you know, oh, cheeseburgers on Tuesday, it's gonna be like, oh, those Sac State guys are coming to do, you know, math tutoring, you know, come on Tuesday. And so that, yeah, we're definitely been looking at all of those and how can we be very intentional with those processes. A lot of them this year we were kind of piloting, how do we get them going? And so, so really being intentional with that. And same at Star Academy, you know, with like the SCAPE and after school, you know, program, and how can we, you know, integrate some, you know, some academic pieces into that? How are we being intentional with that time that we have with the students, even when it's not all the students and they're, you know, it's after school, but it's still valuable time.
Awesome. Lastly, the push for, what is it, attendance. I was thinking, have we ever, or did we even do anything as far as like awards for like attendance?
We used to do that years and years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure when it fell out of favor.
Maybe COVID?
Maybe COVID, probably COVID. I know, I can't really remember much from before then. But yeah, looking at like that, you know, that positive, you know, behavior, attendance, right? You know, looking at, you know, can we celebrate the kids who have been here every day? You know, what are those things? And so that's part of that positive attendance program, is looking at, you know, are there certificates? Are there, you know, certain things you get to do if you've been, you know, coming, you know, that type of thing. You know, that kids only have so much control over their attendance. You know, unfortunately, until they're like 16, it's kind of hard for them to get here, you know, everybody on their own. But, you know, as much control as they have, the more engaged the kids are when they're at school, the more they feel like they're a part of the community and that they don't want to miss out. That is going to be our best bet for helping parents make the decision to keep their students at school every day, right? To not, I know, you know, when my child was here, my husband was like, we're going on this trip and we're gonna leave, you know, 2 days before school gets, you know, whatever. And my kid would be like, no, Dad, I don't wanna miss out on this and this and this, right? You know, and the dad's still the dad and can make that decision, right? But you want that kid to show that passion and that want to be at school, and then that helps. And also having a mom who was an administrator, so. You can go yourself, only two there, was what happened. But, you know, but like that, you know, that's the thing is we need to really get kids, not just to want to get that 100% attendance certificate, but we want them to say, if I'm not there, somebody's gonna notice,
Yeah, for sure.
right? You
And
know,
also,
that's the most important.
these are some thoughts as you're speaking, you know, just place on maybe the website or on those emails, you know, that goal, you know, maybe quarterly, like, oh,
Yeah.
we're at this percentage,
Yes.
goal is this percentage, to make it aware to the parents is what I'm referring to specifically. I know the students,
Right.
they're limited to what they can
Right.
say in or do, but, you know.
Like a big thermometer or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
I love the big thermometer, that would be cool. Star had that earlier this year about something, right? Yeah, fundraiser, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Did you get that note, Petra?
Got it.
Okay, got it. All right,
Right.
thermometer, yeah, no, I love it.
My last question, go ahead, no, go ahead, you were gonna ask.
I was just gonna add, it was interesting because once we got back from COVID, because before COVID, it was like, yes, we'll do certificates for perfect attendance, but then it was like, well, we don't wanna penalize you because you're being safe and careful, right? And now it's like, okay, no, we really need you here. So we're definitely doing a shift, and I know I've mentioned to y'all before that there's also this re-education happening. Because before COVID, it was like, you can have a cough and still come to school. And then it was like, don't cough or you have to go home for 5 years, right? But now, let's do that. So there's definitely these pieces that we need to work on. And I'm not gonna overtake your attendance piece, but there's definitely that re-education, recalibration. And that is something I'm committed to working with our principals next year. Okay, how are we acknowledging the positive attendance from kids now that we're in a different place? So I just wanted to add that piece.
You're not overshadowing, that attendance is all you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm part of the LCAP, so.
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question, I mean, no, there's some process in refining the short-term independent
Yeah.
study. So what's the plan for that?
Well,
Or should we talk about it another day?
Step one, we have to wait for the legislature to make their decision.
there you
Yes, yeah, so, well, step one, we did, what we call an after-action review, so we sat down with, the people that were a part of that kind of process. We said, what's working, what needs to be adjusted, how can we, you know, build knowledge, build understanding, you know, do all of these things. And then they're finishing up attendance, this week, so we'll have our final attendance, so then we'll take a look at the attendance and see, you know, we wanna see like how many, you know, kids went out on short-term independent study, how many earned attendance versus not, you know, what's the percentage rate, you know, did we see kids who got nothing, or, you know, most people got, you know, so we're gonna look at the data and really take a look at that, and then yes, the legislature still has to make some decisions, and so once we get that, which I believe we're going to a law webinar in July. Yay! It'll be so exciting to come back from summer breaks for that. And, you know, and learn more about that, and then based off of that. But we already kind of are looking at what might happen, so we're kind of making plans based on that. But really, we want to make sure that if families are not going to be here and they want their kids to still continue, that they're getting what they need, and then that it's transparent and easy for them to follow the procedure to turn it in, and then in turn for the teachers to then verify, you know, that the work was done, and then and meet all the audit requirements. It's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of paperwork audit requirements that go along with it, but that's just where we are in the world right now.
Great questions. My last one is, are we paying those Sac State students?
No,
Oh, free,
No.
huh?
it's free. It's part of There are math students that are looking to become math teachers.
Okay.
And so it's giving them experience and, it's almost like an internship type of
Yeah,
thing. I did similar things in college where I would go and tutor students or work at different schools to get experience.
So is this like through a math class or a?
I'm not sure if it's a specific math class or if it's just through like the math department.
Okay.
Courtney Selvey, who's our math TOSA, she's been, she kind of got that rolling and has been working with the counselors on it. And so that'll be great. We'll have some good not young adult. They're adults, but they're young. Mathematician models, for the kids to see, because they just assume as adults that we all just, that's our whole life is math, and you're a math teacher, right?
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for all your questions. Your answers.
I appreciate the questions because it means that you're listening and you're thinking about it and you're almost as excited about it as I am.
Give me one of those sweatshirts and I'll get more excited.
Right? I know, it's too hot, you can't wear this.
No, true. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on. Now that we've heard from Laura about the past and the future LCAP, by law, as required, I would like to open the public hearing at 7:47 for the 2024-25 local control and accountability plan as part of the 24-27 LCAP. So, Ziba, is there any one who has communicated with us? No? Nope. Okay. So if that's the case, then at 7:47, should I say 48? Then I would like to close the public hearing at 7:47 for the 2024-25 local control and accountability plan as part of the 2024-27 LCAP. See? Okay, very good. Moving on. Okay. All right, action items. The first action item we have that I'll need do I need to do roll again? No. Okay, good. All right. So we have action items that I'll need a motion and a vote, a second and a vote for approval of before, during, and after school elementary campus monitor and support aid. Diana Wilson is going to share that before we vote on that.
Great, good evening, everybody. So Star Academy has a lot going on. We have 8 different morning recesses in 20-minute blocks, 6 different lunch periods and recess periods in 2 20-minute blocks of time for each grade levels K to 5, and then 3 afternoon recesses for grades 1 to 3. And all of these are supervised by our campus safety monitors. And then we have SCAPE, which is our before and after school program. And the majority of the supervision that needs to take place takes place between 2:50 and 5:30, 6 o'clock. And that supervision has been done by the before and after school support aides. And quite honestly, both positions have been difficult to keep staffed this year. And it's been hard to find times when we can include those staff members in our other activities with the rest of our staff, so they haven't experienced quite as strong of a sense of belonging as our full-time staff members. It's been hard for our students to get to know them and build relationships with them because we've had a lot of turnover. So with that, to solve this issue, we combined the before and after school campus safety monitor and support aide positions and made one job that just rolls off the tongue, right? It's a really long title, but it combines both job descriptions and titles together and makes one position to where we would have full-time people take those positions. They will be on campus from 9 o'clock to 5:30 or 9:30 to 6 o'clock. It will allow us to be able to include them in all of our staff activities, helping them become more cohesive with the rest of our staff, and consistency in staffing so that our kids can get to know them and build those relationships with them when they're out on the playground and such. So I'm hoping, and the salary schedule is the same But I do hope it creates consistency in staffing for our students and for them who hold the positions.
Very good. Any questions? Can we entertain questions?
Was there any reason why it was the prior way?
The job descriptions were just two very different job descriptions. One was for campus safety monitor, which was just for during the school day and for recess. And the other one was for SCAPE and homework help and running activities and those kinds of things. So that's why the description is so long, because it has both of those jobs in there.
One thing we didn't have SCAPE came later. We always have campus monitors and stuff too. And this gives more flexibility because with the two job descriptions, if you held both positions, it's, you could be pulled in campus monitor, but we really need you in SCAPE. And, so this allows to do both in that.
Yeah, that's good.
How many positions of this new position?
Three.
Three. Okay. All right. Are we ready to take a vote? Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those, let me do individually. All right, okay, Doug?
Yes.
Nita? Yes. Sean?
Yes.
I will support it as well. Pretty?
Yes.
And Mallory?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion passed. All right, the next action item we have is approval of, we have to hear from Anita first about the approval of the revised 2024-25 classified salary schedule first.
And this is just a follow-up to the brand new job description. So this is adding that position onto the classified salary schedule.
Oh, okay.
And it's at the same rate of pay that the other positions were at and stuff. It's just including that feature.
Okay, very good. If there are no questions, may I have a motion and a second?
I motion.
I'll second.
All right, so I'll give that to Pretty. All right, and so we'll start with Mallory.
Yes.
Pretty?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Sean?
Yes.
Nita?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
All right, so moved, passed. The next item of action is, again, Anita will talk about the approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
This is an item that we bring to you annually prior to the start of the school year. And this is in order for us to be able, in case we need it, to hire emergency and provisional permits. We are actively recruiting and hiring. The good news is that we only have a few vacancies left to fill at this point, knock on wood. And I'm also excited to say that last year consistently, we had over 11 FTEs that we had a contract out for. We are down to only about 4.5 for next year, so we're still actively recruiting for those as well, and we'll continue to do so. But this just provides us with that extra flexibility so that we can get people that are in intern programs and have those provisional and emergency permits as well. So the numbers on the form that Dr. Wood could sign after you approve are pretty much what the number of subject matter that we've included in previous years. We haven't really changed that.
Very good. Then may I have a motion to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators?
I'll motion.
Okay, I'll give that to Mallory, and second?
I'll second.
Then give that to Pretty. All right, moving on to the, again, Anita will talk about the approval of the 2024-25.
We have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over, I'm just on hold. Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. Doug?
Yes.
Nita?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
I will say yes. Pretty?
Yes.
And Mallory?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Now we'll move on to the approval of the 2024-25 budget. Anita?
I'm gonna bring that up. Okay, so you've heard all the exciting things about the LCAP and everything. Well, the exciting budget for last on there, but all those exciting things that are happening in the LCAP is all the variables that go into the budget that we have here. Starts with our assumptions and our best forecasting that we can do. We don't really have a crystal ball on some of this stuff. And as you know, with the state's budget, each year it becomes less reliable as we're starting to build these assumptions and stuff. The numbers are kind of all over the place. But we're going to go over what we use for budget assumptions in the 24-25 adopted budget, some of the financial highlights, so you know some of the details that are in the budget, as well as going over multi-year projections. Also, do we have enough cash? How our reserves are? What is our bottom line as far as our authorizer? You know, would they consider us to be positive and be able to meet our financial obligations? So, Zena, if you want to start here. So we start off with the major assumptions that we use, and this is based on the governor's May revise, and we use the school services dartboard for that. So last budget update, we talked about the COLA for next year being 1.07, and you can see we've included the 2 out years out there. So as of right now, the May revise and stuff, the 25-26 year and 26-27 year, you'll see that they're projecting the cost of living adjustments are going to be going up on there. There's no, at this time, deficit factors or additional augmentations and stuff. So those are the COLAs that we are planning for. And then I've listed the low control funding formula amounts per grade level on there. So you can see how they're going up. And also by those amounts, they have gone up significantly, actually. When we started this, it was like only $6,000 at the elementary level. And over these past several years, it's already going up to $10,000 for elementary, ending with high school of over $12,000. We always get a K through 3 adjustment. So TK through 3rd grade gets an additional 1,043, and that's we apply the COLA in the 2 out years. And then for the career tech education for high school, we get an add-on of $316 for the budget year, and then COLA is applied for the out years. And then also Natomas Charter School qualifies for supplemental grant add-ons, and that's based on whether a student qualifies for free and reduced lunch, EL, homeless, foster youth as well. And then we are our unduplicated count percentage based on those categories do not qualify us for concentration grant money. So if you go to the next slide here. So we are building the budget based on projected ADA of 1,776.5, and we're projecting no growth for the future. We just want to see, based on the decisions we made today, how will we do on that? So the change in ADA is actually a decrease over this year. So this year, I believe I mentioned in our budget update that our P2 attendance came in a little bit higher. So we were using an average of 95%. It actually came in close to rounded 97%. So that's a great thing. And we did see some mid-year enrollment increases for our non-classroom based students. So we did take a look at what we're projecting. We're still going with the 95. I'll explain that later, but it is a decrease. So if we do continue to show an increase in attendance and improvement, we could see that money will come in for that. And then the average per school-wide per ADA is projected to be $12,032. And then you can see the out years going through there. So that is an additional $238 over, that's the statewide average, over what we were getting the previous year. And then also we have the STRS rates. We were lucky that CalSTRS is keeping, there's no increase for this year, which is great. And then CalPERS is still increasing, but they've tweaked it so it's not as high as it has been in the future. So over next year's is only going to be a 0.37, so less than 1% increase. And then you can see the 2 out years are less than 1%. So that's looking better. It's still, 27 cents on the dollar type of thing, which is significant. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is our unduplicated count percentage. So in 23-24, the current year, we started using the alternative income form instead of having parents fill out their free and reduced forms. And that was part of our registration packet and stuff. That enabled us to increase our unduplicated count numbers. And these percentages listed here are a 3-year average. So next year, we were always the high 20s and stuff. We're broken past 30%, so 37.85%. And then the 2 out years are going to be over 40%. So when you compare us to the other charter schools within Natomas Unified, the next lowest are in their 40s. So we are now kind of in that area. So we're really excited about that. So see if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so we're projecting enrollment of 1,870. So based on a 95% attendance ratio, that's how we get the 1776.5 ADA. And there's just a slide of by academy. See if I can go to the next slide. And so financial highlights. Sorry, I'm going to flip to my face. There's a glare there on that. So as we mentioned, we've applied the 1.07 cost of living adjustment for our base funding. Our enrollment is, we were projecting slight decrease over what we ended up with this year, just to be conservative. We've restructured most of our salary agreements on the certificated side. We've included step and column adjustments, pension increases for CalSTARS only. Instructional materials have increased, and that's mainly due to some of the curriculum that we needed to purchase for adoptions, things like that. Professional development, Laura mentioned that on the LCAP. For the $500 per certificated staff, which includes our admin. We're also able to continue the ELOP program, continuing that, as well as summer school. On the operating side of the house and stuff, just sharing with you, special ed program continues to grow as we have more students that qualify with disabilities and stuff. So our estimated revenues are going to be about 1.9 million. Total expenditures are going to be over 4.5 million. So we're projecting to contribute out of LCFF funds 2.6 million. So, and that's all special ed programs together. That's federal, state, early mental health, the whole gamut on that. Okay, next, position control changes. I mentioned this earlier, we were able to hire SPED staff that we were previously contracting out. So you'll see some shifts between contracted services and salary and benefits. Also, our routine restricted maintenance account is a little over 3%. Now that we've accepted that grant award, we do need to keep that and show that we're maintaining 3% or more. We have over 116,000 in expenditures for technology related, and that's to replace computers, buy new computers for staff, iPads, Chromebooks, those replacements as well too. We're continuing with our Mandarin program. So last year, the N4CO funds pretty much ended as far as us being the regional head of the cohort there. We're still participating in the program, but we have enough carryover in our allocations to continue that. We've also are continuing and absorbing the actual position as part of our regular core position control program. We've removed one-time monies out of the budget here, as well as capital outlay. So we have the project that we are currently working on. We got the $3 million this year. That will be considered carryover moving forward. We did include in this year's annual budget some additional design costs to kind of separate out some phases. And as of right now, we are debt-free. Good there. Yes. But all right, so you can see what you can go to the next slide. Okay. So, and as a reminder, this is the numbers version of the LCAP. So we spent a lot of time on LCAP. You can get past the sideline. But those are our 4 new goals on that. All right. So this is a snapshot of the budget on here. So I believe on page 83 of your total board packet, after the executive summary and narrative and stuff, is the financial statements that you'll see in here. And so this is kind of like the bird's eye view of those details. And And again, I believe it starts on 83. So you can see we're projecting to have our revenues to be 30.8 million and expenditures to be 30.1 million. So during the time that we build the budget, we also look at what is our current year budget and kind of capture any savings that we have. So we're projecting a surplus of over 701,873 added to our beginning fund balance. We're hoping to close the school year with about 19.56 million. For next year, you'll see our revenues are dropping down, right? And so we're projecting 26.4 million in revenues and almost about the same 26.3 on expenditures. The variance there is pulling out close to $4 million in the facility grant funds, basically, and some one-time categoricals on there. But we are projecting at this moment a surplus of 193,777 to end the year with $19.7 million. So with that, looking at your detailed budget, if you wanted to see the line items there, we're also, I'm going to hold that page because when we get to reserves, I'd like to direct you down to this point, back to that page. So see, if you want to go, this is a snapshot of our revenues. So the majority of our revenues are coming from the state based on attendance. That's why it's so important there. In the next slide, you'll see a snapshot of our expenditures. And based on the 24-25 budget, our salary and benefits are going to be about 81% of the budget. And so this is kind of a good picture of what our salary and benefits truly run because there's not a lot of capital outlay in this particular budget. Let's see if we can go to the next one. This one is expenditures by function, where you can see that just on the instructional portion alone, we're over 62%. School districts have to do this formal calculation, and if you're a unified school district, you have to be at least 55% or more. Elementary district 60, you can see that we're above on that. So of that, multi-year projection. So for the 2 out years, we are projecting slight increases on the revenues and expenditure side. Again, this is pulling out all the one-time monies with our natural growth for consumer price index, for inflation, our step and column and things like that. You can see we're still projecting a little bit of a surplus on there with positive fund balances. So Ziba, if we go to the next slide, the assumptions are basically we said we're not going to count on any additional increases in enrollment or ADA. We'll just keep it flat. The average per pupil or per ADA, it would be going up to 12,505 for 25-26, and 26-27 it would go up to 12,889, and that's based on those increased COLAs as of the dartboard for the May revise. Unduplicated count, you'll see that the 3-year average goes up to over 43%. We remove all the one-time revenues and expenditures, include the step and column costs, and as I mentioned, inflation and pension increases. Let's see if we can go to the next slide. Reserves. So let's go back to page 83 on here. Down at the bottom, the yellow column, or yeah, it's kind of yellow, is our estimated actuals and the components of that $19.5 million fund. The pink column is the adopted budget and what those so what we are projecting for next year's budget, I wanted just to kind of point the details out to you under operating reserves. What counts as operating reserves is our economic uncertainties. According to our fiscal policy, we're rounding that to 10%. And then any cash on hand or from our revolving fund investments, cash reserves, unrestricted lottery, and then what is undesignated in our budget here. And so you can see that that makes up about a little over 49% of our reserve. So the fiscal policy that you guys adopted a couple of years ago now is we want to see that at a minimum of 35%. So that's the 10% economic uncertainties and 25%, which was the equivalent of about only 3 months worth of expenditures. And then over a 5-year period, we wanted to see if we could get up to 6 months worth of expenditures. So we're definitely meeting that. We're also meeting those required reserves in all 3 years as well. And then the program reserve. So you can see the different breakout there. It's slightly above. Our main focus is facility reserves, trying to come up with that $10 million for the match and then qualify for a $5 million levy. So if all goes well, we are projecting that our facilities reserves will be at $5.55 million by the end of next fiscal year. And as we close the books, if we will probably be coming to you that time to because you will have had a facilities update that time, to basically commit some of those funds, whether or not you want to move forward with the facilities project. That's something that the district said that they would like to see us actually formally commit in the fund balance there. You want to go there? So our bottom line, you can see that for 24-25, with a projected fund balance of the 19.75, that's about 75% of expenditures. 25-26, it's closing at 19.78, it's 74%, and then 26-27, still the 19 million, a little over that, at 73%. For cash balances and stuff, we're projecting that when we close next year, the cash balances will go down to 16 million, and then 25-26, it would end with 17.5 million, and then the third year out, closing at 17.4 million. So that would be considered a positive certification when you can meet those particulars. So going to the next slide. So for the board action tonight, with this board packet, we've also included the updated education protection account, spending determinations. It's still going all towards certificated salaries. And in May, I believe we gave you a preliminary one. These are the actual final numbers. And at the time, when you look at the schedule there, you'll see that we are contributing 5.7. That's what we're projecting the state's gonna give us in those funds. They haven't released that information yet until the advanced apportionment. Also, again, that this is aligned with the LCAP that you had a public hearing on, and we'll be asking you actually to approve the LCAP formally in a few days, the 13th, right? So, do the next section. Okay, so next steps. With the legislative process, just as a reminder, and it should be in your budget narrative, the difference between the governor's January proposal and the May revise changed significantly. By the time he got to the May revise, the state was projecting another loss of $7 billion and stuff. So the May revise included all their solutions from January, plus the additional loss of the $7 billion. We're still looking at the state facing a 26 point some odd billion dollar deficit on there. And that includes the governor's, what they're calling the governor's maneuver of over $8.8 million or so, because they funded this year's funds with $8 million of one-time money that did come into the taxes. So that is all included in the May revise. What you're hearing now in the commercials stuff too is that the governor and CTA are working together to try and preserve Prop 98, because the May revise projections and the solutions in there would, according to the experts, shortchange education in the out years as far as our LCFF base. So they're working on a solution for that. So we are definitely anticipating a lengthy budget trailer bill, some maybe surprises when they actually adopt the budget. And some of those solutions could be cash deferral. So in the cash projections that I've done here, I've anticipated next year to have a May and June deferral paid back in July, just to be conservative, because that's what the easy solution for them. So we'll see, but we will be listening in. You'll probably get some updates. We'll definitely do a budget update in August for you to see if there's any major changes. And then also the next step would be closing the books for this year. And then we will bring back those financials prior to September 15th. And then I'll open it up for questions.
Any questions? The only one I had, and I'm sure you've shared this with us before, but I just needed to recollect it, with the reserves. Do we have them in some kind of CD or something?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah.
We have our money, we actually backing up, we have invested in the past under Charlie Leo's leadership and stuff, and that's when CDs were exceeding rates from the county treasury and stuff. So right now, we are, all of our funds are invested, for the most part, in the county treasury. It's part of that pooled investment fund, that all the public agencies are participating in. And that is running at about, last quarter's was 4.7% interest. And so right now, there's really no, T-bills or CDs that are exceeding that, unless you want to tie up your funds for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But we still, that's something that we look at, and the banks always send us information on that.
You said it was like $200,000 or $300,000 last year too, wasn't it?
For
our interest that we earn.
Oh, yeah, actually, I'm thinking we're gonna be, by the time I come to you closing the books, I'm thinking we're gonna have $600,000 and stuff, because I increased the budget at second interim, and they always do a settle up this year. So we are projecting that inflation isn't gonna go away anytime soon. So the offset of that is more interest earnings. So we are projecting in this the new year budget, $600,000 in interest.
Any other questions? If not, I'd like a motion to approve the 2024-25 budget.
Motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Yes, okay, very good. All right, so, Doug.
Yes.
Anita.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Pretty.
Yes.
And Mallory.
Yes.
Very good. All right, thank you, Anita, for that. I'm sorry. Yes.
Can I just, I guess it is page 94 that I was referring to, sorry, it said 83.
All right, so now the next item here is hearing of the public for items not on the agenda.
Nothing received with me and no one online.
Okay, very good. And our next item is hearing of the public for items on the agenda.
Also nothing received with me and no one online.
Okay, very good. So now we're it's time to hear from our executive director, Dr. Wood, his comments.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. So first of all, Thursday night is our next meeting. I'm gonna do what Ziva really wants me to do. I'm gonna check who's coming. I have Mallory's gonna be in attendance, Sean will be in attendance, Doug will be in attendance, Gina and Jen will be in attendance. And then I have that Maria, Pretty, and Anita are not able to attend, correct?
What's the time?
I'll be here on Thursday.
5:30, and it's a short one. All we're doing is approving the LCAP.
I better look at my calendar, but I think I'm here.
Okay, awesome. We need at least 5. Thank you all for coming to all the graduation and promotion celebrations last week. It was a joyous week. I'm glad you guys were there. Tomorrow starts summer school. So we have elementary and middle school going till the 27th of June, I believe. And then we have high school going one more week till the 23rd. Or did I say the 3rd?
It's the 3rd, not the 23rd.
Sorry.
I was
the
like,
3rd. My brain went backwards. 3rd, not 23rd. And then last thing, just FYI to the board, travel club from PFA departs tomorrow morning. Maria and I will be there at 3:45 dropping our children off. They're going to Italy and Greece for 10 days. So we have 40 students and 8 staff members
If
from
they need any
PFA.
board members to go.
I wish.
No, like I said, when I said no parents are allowed, he says, tell me when. I'll sign it. I didn't care where. That's what I did.
Shout out to the teachers.
That's
for
good.
spending
That's
part of
good.
the summer.
They'll have a fabulous time.
So they will be there. They all get back on the 20th.
You guys should just camp out.
Yeah, show up.
Show up, 3 a.m.
So Marie and I will see each other in about 5 hours.
Maybe with a little sleep in between.
That's all I have.
Very good, thank you very much. Any comments from the board of directors?
It's been a fun year.
Yes. Yes,
Thank you for all you guys' hard work and keeping us updated.
Thank you very much.
yes, I ditto that as well, and also all the parents who supported us here, the students who supported us, made it a memorable year. So I'm very grateful. And this will be my, I won't be here this Thursday, so I also wanted to acknowledge the board and how wonderful it's been to work with you all this past year. Look forward to our next year together. So, all right, any future board agenda items?
Just approval of the LCAP on Thursday night.
Very good.
And
All right.
before you leave, there's that resolution that you all need to sign before you walk out, so just don't leave without that, please.
Very good. So without further ado, I will adjourn our meeting at 8:21. Thank you very much for joining us, and for those of you out there on Zoom.